All vehicles must undergo treatment before delivery to the Jolly self-serve yard or the material recycling division. Ensure the equipment used is maintained in good working order as per the treatment maintenance checklists. Pay attention to your surroundings. Think safety and be aware of possible hazards at all times. Do not wear loose clothing for this work. You must wear the following safety equipment. Personal protective equipment must be worn throughout the operations of this procedure. These are the necessary items: a cap, eye protection, high-vis top, protective gloves, and safety shoes. Vehicles fitted with LPG tanks must first be taken to the LPG area to have gas removed with a vacuum gas machine. Check that the swing arms and area is clear before a forklift lowers a vehicle onto the aqualift. Never work under a vehicle while it is suspended using a forklift. Each task must be ticked off on the iPad as it is completed. Do not tick off several tasks at one time. Tick yes if completed or no if not present. Enter your user ID. Enter the acquisition number. This is found on the windscreen of the vehicle. Alternatively, you can scan in the vehicle's acquisition barcode. Check that the photo matches the vehicle. Press to enter the depollution checklist. Vehicle notes for consideration may appear. Parts can be nominated as being removed or damaged. When the removed option is selected, a sticker tag is generated to be printed and placed on the part. Parts that are damaged can be left on or in the vehicle. Comments about them can also be written in the notes section against each part flagged for removal. All vehicles fitted with LPG must undergo the LPG recovery process. Attention! Check all vehicles for LPG tanks. Inspect the boot compartment and underneath. It's important to make sure no vehicle with LPG is missed. Check there is blue paint on the tank and that the brass fittings have been removed. This will indicate that the tank has gone through the LPG recovery process and no gas is present. Return the vehicle to the LPG recovery area if any of these indicators are missing. Press 0 on the iPad if there are no LPG tanks fitted. Press 1 if there is one empty tank, or 2 if there is more than one empty tank. Remove rubbish and hazardous items from the vehicle. Take care as needles may be present. Wear gloves for protection and always look where you place your hands. Needles are to be placed in the containers provided. Rubbish and loose items are to be put into the designated bins. General waste, scrap metal, parts, and cardboard and paper. Check under the rear seats for loose change. Place all money found in the charity deposit box provided. Return seats back into position for Jolly's You Pull It customers. Check for items that can be salvaged from the rubbish for sale at Jolly's You Pull It. Jacks that are not required are removed and placed in the scrap metal bin for recycling. Certain vehicles like four-wheel drives may have jacks stored under the rear seats in special compartments. Jacks in utes may be found behind the seats. Be sure to check all areas of vehicle. Loosen fuel cap to allow ventilation. Also, determine the type of fuel present so that you will drain it to the correct tank. Different fuels give off different odours, including stale water contaminated fuel. Try to learn the distinction, especially the difference between good petrol, stale petrol, and diesel. Remove battery from under the bonnet or in the boot. And place on the batteries pallet. Check to see if there is an air conditioning system fitted. If so, recover the gas with the equipment provided. For larger gas line fittings, use the red connector, and for smaller line fittings, use the blue. Turn on recovery unit. Open the discharge dial slightly, followed by the suction dial. Turn control valve to recover. When the gas has been completely purged from the system, the blue suction gauge arm will return back to 0. When cycle is complete, turn main switch to self-clearing to clean the line of any residual gas. When suction gauge again returns back to 0, self-clearing cycle is complete. Now close both discharge and suction dials. Turn off recovery unit. Once the gas has been reclaimed from the system, remove the valves from the lines. If the valves cannot be taken out, disconnect the couplings on the lines. When either valve or coupling cannot be disconnected, cut the line or the connecting hose. Avoid any cutting of parts where possible. Remove number plates if present, and place in the scrap metal bin. Suck out the brake fluid from the reservoir. Recover power steering fluid. Recover washer bottle fluid. Loosen radiator cap. Where possible, open the vehicle's heater tap so that coolant in the vehicle's heater will be drained. Check access to the lowest point of the bottom radiator hose before raising vehicle on hoist. Make sure vehicle is secured and positioned safely before raising on hoist. Check that the swing arms and other equipment is clear before raising the vehicle on the aqualift. Turn on coolant pump. Open the ball valve of the lance to initiate suction. Poke the coolant lance through the lowest point in the bottom radiator hose. This will help to drain all of the coolant. Doing it from underneath is more effective, so raise the vehicle and do it from below where possible. Make sure the holes in the lance are fully submerged into the hose for best suction. Make sure the lever on the quality control unit is positioned in the centre to prevent the fuel going to the wrong storage tank. Position the swing arm so that the tank drill is directly under the lowest part of the tank, usually near the lowest corner or side so that the tank doesn't distort while applying pressure. Before drilling into fuel tanks, it is absolutely essential to attach the earth clamp from the tank drill to a part of the metal bodywork of the car to discharge any static electricity, otherwise the fuel could be ignited. Push the red lever down to allow the foot to rest and be supported by the floor. Pull the black lever down on the tank drill so it can rise up to seal the rubber boot against the tank. Then lock it back into position. Select either petrol or diesel to start the fuel drain pump on the CD unit before you commence drilling. Activate the air drill before applying pressure on the foot pedal. Apply pressure on the foot pedal and allow the drill to cut its way into the tank. When it reaches its full diameter, stop drilling and take your foot off the pedal, allowing the drill bit to retract while the rubber boot remains sealed against the tank. Check to see that the fuel begins to flow. If it leaks from around the rubber boot, release the black lever and apply upward pressure on the drill unit until the rubber boot seals the leak. Go to the fuel quality control unit and allow it to half fill. Stop the pump momentarily to allow the fuel to settle and give you a chance to check the quality by viewing it through the glass. Look for water. While solids will be captured by the seeder's filters, any water contamination will not be caught, but should be visible as it separates from the fuel and lies in the bottom of the quality control unit. If contaminated fuel is detected, it must be directed to the waste fuel storage tank by shifting the fuel quality control unit lever to the left-hand side, the dirty fuel position. If the fuel is clean, it can be directed to the clean fuel tanks by moving the quality control lever to the right-hand side. Reduced suction capacity indicates a dirty filter. Changing it is essential when suction is reduced. Check the pressure gauge to see if it's within the correct operating range of 0.2 to 0.3 bar. Insert bung into drained fuel tank. If drilling the tank is not an option, fuel can be removed from the tank by connecting the fuel suction hose to the tank drill. The three-way valve on the tank drill needs to be open to divert the fuel entering from the hose, instead of the drill head. In cases where fuel tanks need to be reached from above the vehicle, they can be lowered on the hoist at the end of the depollution process. Specialty tools may be required for piercing the tank. Allow the draining process to continue while you proceed with other steps in the treatment process, bearing in mind that each of the pumps must be turned off as soon as they are finished. Do not let the pumps run dry for long periods. Loosen engine oil sump plug. Open drainage channel. Drain engine oil. Drain oil from transmission as with engine where a drain plug is present. If there is no drain plug, use the gearbox drilling machine to drill the transmission pan at the lowest point. Make sure the spacer is in place over the drill bit to ensure the drill doesn't come into contact with the internal parts of the gearbox, which will cause it to break. Check for draining transmission oil. For vehicles with the front diff, drain oil the same way as with the engine oil. Transmissions on front-wheel drive cars often have an additional drain plug for the diff oil. Make sure the converter is supported while being removed to prevent it from falling. The converter must not be allowed to fall to the floor. Allow the exhaust mounts to support the converter while you separate it from the rest of the exhaust system. Use the oil drain funnels on the swing arm to catch any converters that cannot be supported by their mounts. Check the presence of contents in the converter. If the converter is empty, place it in the scrap metal bin. If it has contents, place it in the catalytic converter bin. Make sure any contents are not lost, as it is valuable. While the vehicle is suspended, remove one side of the K-frame and the rear suspension bolts. And once the vehicle is lowered from the hoist, remove both strut tower assembly bolts. Unbolt the tow bar tongue. Then, if possible, replace it in the reverse direction or pointing to one side so that it doesn't stick out. This is done so that the protruding tow bar tongue doesn't present a hazard to customers in the Jolly's yard. It also reduces the overall length of the vehicle, giving more clearance when being moved with a forklift. If the tongue cannot be reversed, then place it in the boot where customers can find it if they want to buy it. Check that the swing arms and other equipment is clear before lowering the vehicle on the aqualift. Enter wheel types and quantities on the iPad, including the spare. Remove engine and transmission if requested in accordance with the engine and transmission removal procedure. To show that the vehicle has now been processed, using water and a scraper, remove the yellow P from the window. Leave the yellow D, R or G as they signify which yard the vehicle is allocated to. Continue to remove all other vehicle markings on the windows. Press confirmation on the iPad to indicate that you have completed the treatment procedure. The screen and the magnet in the drill head should be cleaned daily. Put your fingers through the hole of the magnet while cleaning. Use magnet on pole to pick up any nuts, bolts or metallic objects around the work area.